G'day champions. You're probably playing an ad right now, like it is on my end. Skip ad. Skip ad. Right, I think we're live. How you going, champs? What a shit fight this morning was. Everything's a fucking shit fight these days. Yeah, slept in a little bit. Well, not really. I got up at 5, 5:15. Just misjudged my list of things I had to get done this morning. All right, have we got audio? Turn on, you piece of shit. Oh, power off. Power on, you fuck. Bluetooth. Wireless shit that doesn't work. Connecting. Couldn't connect. Well, that's the first time that's ever happened, of course, because it's on stream. Alright, now I can actually listen and see if the audio is any good and ignore your comments because you're telling me bullshit. Alright, it sounds okay. So whoever's got an echo, that's the problem on your end. Alright, champions. All the bullshit's out of the way. What are we doing? Having coffee first. So I was too early for my favourite coffee shop, so I had to go to the McDonald's thing. Don't you hate how they give you this little hole, but it's like 0.1 millimeters. You couldn't even fit like a guitar string through it. So it does nothing. So every coffee you buy, or at least in the history of my existence, you got to do that so you can actually drink the bastard. That's better. Well, you know, I'll give that a score of maybe 4 out of 10, 4.5 out of 10. So anyway, thanks Darren. I'm going to transfer that to my charity of choice. So I forgot to do that in the description. Let me just update that now. I'm not sure it'll come through, but one moment. So what I've been saying is, instead of giving me super chats or donations, which I do appreciate, it makes it feel like maybe it's not a complete waste of time making videos. Up until the end of July at least, I would prefer if you diverted your donations to this place, which distributes money between various foundations that assist people that are suffering from cancer. Here we go. There's the link. If you want to donate to that instead of me, because I'm okay, I've paid rent this week, that's alright. I'd appreciate it. So I'll just set the goal to 1,000 in 2021 I made 1400, and 2022 I only made 500. So I think everyone was sick of me asking for money by that point. But we're at, what are we at? $374.60. So yeah, that'd be nice if you could chuck it that way instead of me, if you were going to anyway. Not saying I want donations, I'm saying if you were going to give something to me out of the goodness of your heart, I would appreciate it if you could direct it there instead. Let's put that in the video description too. One moment. So anyway, how is everyone? As I said in the video description, I've got no time to edit videos or think about a narrative for some particular amp and shoot video of that. And just no time at all at the moment. And it's been 14-hour days, 7 days a week, just to keep everyone off my back, barely. I had some fuckwit ring me at 9:45 last night. I don't know who it was. I've got the number there. I should see if it's a customer that's in my system. But yeah, he rings at 9:45 or something. And I pick it up because recently my phone bricked itself, a Samsung Galaxy S7. So in the process of trying to transfer that to a new phone, like trying to be safe and update everything, right? The phone bricked itself in the transfer because of Smart Switch. It bricked the phone. You fucking thing. So it was like it knew that it was getting transferred. It was like, oh, let's make him buy a new phone. You know, let's brick this one. Fucking prick thinks he can use a phone for more than 3 years. So I've lost everyone's contact details. So often I'll get a phone number that I don't recognise and I've got to answer it anyway to find out who it is, because it could be someone that needs me or something and I just haven't got their number in my new phone yet. So anyway, I picked it up and this guy was clearly drunk, like heavily drunk. Oh, g'day mate, sorry to ring you so late. Well, no, you're fucking not, are you? But anyway, and then I said, mate, it's 9:45. Oh yeah, sorry mate, I just got a couple of questions for you. I go, no, I don't give a fuck, go away, ring me back in open hours, and hung up on him. So if it's someone that's not in my system, I think I'm going to block that number so they can never ring me again. Dry July donation link. There we go. Saved in video description. So anyone who's not watching live chat has it down there. So yeah, I've recently removed my phone number from all public records, from all public, you know, business pages. And everyone's getting a bit upset about that. They're like, oh, it was really hard to find your number. Oh, geez, it was hard to get in touch with you. It's like, well, there's a reason for that. And basically, I'm using the ability to find my email address, which is everywhere, or use my contact form on the website, which is easily available. I'm using that as like a filter, because if you can't figure that out and you're not good with tech, like a lot of people say, oh, I'm no good with computers. It's like, well, I kind of don't want you as a customer because I know you're probably going to be pretty difficult to communicate to. So it's kind of a pretty convenient sort of self-limiting mechanism, just not having your phone number out there, because I can't answer the phone all day. And I know Lyle was discussing this in one of his streams. We can't be answering the phone. It's as simple as that. It's bad enough having a shop with customers walking in. Well, that's not bad, that's good. But having 5-6 phone calls an hour while you're trying to work, and like trying to work on detailed analysis of a fault in a complex system, just doesn't work. I'm sorry. Email me. I'll deal with it at the end of the day. If it's urgent, well, sorry, but this isn't an emergency department. Anyway, I'm not in a good mood this week for reasons previously stated. So, I have 3 champs, as you probably saw in the thumbnail. Good on you, champ. There you go, champ. Various problems. He couldn't, well, we didn't articulate what one had what problem. He just said, there's hum, there's noise, there's intermittent signal. Can't remember which one's which. Oh, you motherfucker. So, I'm going into this one not knowing which one's got what problem. I don't really want to fire them straight up. I want to inspect them internally first. One of these I have had before. I actually sold it to him like 6+ years ago. And it's been good ever since, he said. But we'll get to inspect my previous work. Yeah, Rob. Voicemail seems like a good idea, but what happens? It's like flagging your emails. Oh, that's important. I'll flag that and I'll deal with it later. You just end up with 500,000 flagged emails that you just don't have time to go through them either. Like, I've literally got like maybe 20 minutes a day to do admin. And if I'm sitting there going through 15 voicemail messages, half of which they don't leave their fucking contact details in, which is great. Call me back. On what number? Who are you? What's your name? Fuck. People, man. Like I said, less cynicism, as if I knew that'd be a little dog whistle to the cynicism lovers. I don't do phones either. Yeah, you just can't, Scotty. It's not 1983. We've got email. Fuck, we had email in 1983, didn't we? Oh, we had something mail. I forget what it was called. Wait till you're older and stuff falls on the floor. That mother can stay there. Yeah, you just got to sort of push your way through it, eh? That's how hordes start. Also, if their email is a book, I delete it. Yeah, I've had a few people send me novels, and I've tried to be polite. I'm like, dude, I don't have time to read this. Like, tell me what you want. I don't want to know what guitar amp you had in 1967. I just want to know what's wrong with your thing and what you want me to do with it. Not trying to be rude, but it's just like, man, paragraphs, like, I literally 1,500 words. I don't, no. Delete. Oh, that's good. So, there's actually a bit of a mark there. This capacitor was pretty much touching the speaker connection. So it's got an aftermarket, I should have showed you before I opened it, but it's got an aftermarket Weber, which is all well and good. I wonder where he got that. Must have got it shipped over here. But when this is all the way in, of course now the Tolex is bunching up. That's a worry. Someone's written with Texter 100% on the 6v6. 100% of what? 100% life? Like, it sounds like someone's using an inappropriate valve tester and selling snake oil. It's got 100% that valve, like it's a battery gauge or something. I stay off Teams at work. I have email, and that's and a trouble TL tick system. I don't know what that means. Alright, so I'm going to have to stick the Tolex back because this is bullshit. You get one side okay and the other side goes out. Anyway, what I'm showing you is that spade connector is able to touch that cap can, and that's grounded. So that might have been the intermittency. But this thing looks like it might need some attention anyway. I'm going to put all the bloody cabinets, I'll put them in here. Okie dokie, so this one is actually labelled as a 240 volter. Just do the soup Nazi. Yeah, it doesn't sound easy being a good tech. It's nothing worth doing is easy, is it? I mean, yeah, there's a few guys around here that are scrounging for work. I'm like, man, all the guys I know that are really good are like 6 months lead time, 3 to 6 months, something like that. So if you go to a tech and they've got nothing on their plate, you've got to ask yourself why. It's coffee, it's good. So what do we got? We've got a Philips 6v6. Still got the getter intact, that's promising. It's funny that it's blackened, but it's only for part of the valve. Normally the whole envelope is like that. This is Sovtech 5x3 and a Mullard reissue, whatever that means, 12AX7. People skills are worth learning too. Yeah. I know. It's just, you know, the customers should learn people skills too. That's my argument. Alright, come on. Let's turn down this exposure a touch. How's that look? Still washed. Too dark? You're going to die of stress and a heart attack. Yeah, probably. But the bills will be paid. Fuck. What? What? Fuck. Alright, so a section of the cap's clearly failed in a 3-section cap. So instead of replacing the cap, they've just replaced, well, you know, flown a cap above to take care of that one section. Another half job Harry. Ah, well, so half job Harrys seem to be celebrated on YouTube. I'm not going to name names, but Jesus. There's a lot of people that think they're getting an economical repair when they're short of money that week or month or whatever. They're actually going to end up spending more in the long run, I hate to tell them. Because, like this amp here, yeah, you probably saved him money by throwing a cheap ass Ritchie. Could have thrown a cheapie in there, not a Ritchie. Probably told the customer he's going to save him money, and then 3 months later it fails again. So then he's got to pay someone else a bench fee at least. And then if they replace one section of that cap, then the last one will fail, and they'll have to pay another bench fee. And then the bypass cap will fail, and you know, then they'll have to pay another bench fee. Then that bypass cap will fail, and they'll have to pay another bench. And before you know it, what could have been a $300 job is now $1,000. So this whole I'm saving them money shit by doing a half job is fucking horse shit. So stop doing it. So yeah, I think we might not even fire this one up. He's asked for a significant restoration on all of them. So he wants them to be reliable. So I think there's a couple of solder melts there. I don't know what they were doing over there with the soldering iron. Doesn't look like there's any rework there, but who knows? Maybe that's where they sit their iron when they're working. Like, how do you melt that? Don't know. So what do we got? We got dual pole, single throw switch. That's nice. We've got the neutral going straight to the transformer and the active fuse, so that's good. Wiring colours are wrong, but that's the least of our worries. And we've got the original heater wiring, which is neither here nor there. We've got a pretty blackened dropper resistor there. That could have happened. No, so the cap that failed was the first node. Couldn't even straighten the legs on that cap. Yeah, they're pretty munched up, aren't they? She's high flying. We've got a transformer mounted hardware. We've got some solder splashes. I don't think that's the original cathode resistor, or I think this is a replacement actually, because I can see on the bypass cap for the first stage there's a little indentation made in the wax, so I'd say that's been replaced, but I don't know how long ago, and they're only 85-degree caps, so that's not brilliant. And that's the original bypass there for the second stage. So let's just do a quick check on the droppers and plate resistors for drift. Everyone loves drift. Jim, have a Golden Gate time. It used to be my favourite. Oh no, that was my brother's favourite ice cream. My favourite was Bubble O Bill, or Cornetto's. Cornetto is probably my favourite. So I'll have a Cornetto on you, Jim. Thanks, mate. Right, let's check the. I've got to deal with the cap charging, but 1.5. Wow. I've got 35, which you'd expect because both are in parallel on the input on the grid stoppers. Let me just put it so you can read it. I've got all the gear and no idea now when it comes to the videos. Used to have pretty good camera skills and shit gear. Now I've got great gear and shit camera skills. Bear with me, guys. It does take a little bit to get back in the swing of it. What is the random solder blobs? Yeah. Well, these ones here, Max, if you're talking about them, they're actually mounting the cap. But yeah, I don't know if you're talking about, there's a few little just splashes from whoever was soldering it. Slope resistor, 110. Yeah. 110 for the plate loads. Yeah, pretty much consistently 110. Not a lot of resistors checking this one. 230 on the 220 there. 54 on the 47. So everything's drifted high except for the cathode resistors on the first two stages. 54, that's a bit high. That's going to be okay. He's put a 1K in there instead of a 470, which is probably to cool the bias down a bit. 1.7K, and it should be 1K. That's pretty high. And you can see that one's actually darkened. 1.7. There's a bit of random silicon there. I don't know where that's come from. Nothing else in here seems to be siliconed. This one should be 10K. And it's around 11K, so it's within tolerance. So yeah, a few drifted resistors, and what's probably a blown replacement cap replacing the blown cap. So I think I'll just quote a recap on that one, just to recap. But what I will show you, and I won't be too cocky about it because it has come back, was the one that I redid, and that's a way to get around using one of these bloody things. There's companies that make these, and everyone pipes up and says, "Oh, CE Distribution make them." They're shit. They blow up, so don't buy them. I've had to replace them when they're only a year old, and that was an occasional bedroom use amp, and they'd already failed. So, and the JJ's ones aren't much better. So I'm trying to steer away from multi-section can caps altogether because I just can't trust them. No one makes one that's reliable, unfortunately. I've heard good things about the Hayseed Hamfest ones though. Yet to try them. The shipping's an issue. Shipping's always an issue because I'm in Australia. But apparently they're just radial caps packaged into a can and then wired. So I don't know. To me, it's like, do you really go on, you know, restuffing caps? It's like, I've got better shit to do. Just deal with the fact that it's not original and it actually works. Just that's a personal problem that you have with your amplifier not being original. My problem is to make it work reliably. If you don't want to change it, well, don't book it in for service. Allen & Heath 12 channel mixers relatively serviceable? Yes, they are. You're talking about the Z series, I assume. I don't think you'd be talking about the MixWizard 12.2 DX. I've got a pretty decent knowledge of Allen & Heath stuff because I do sell it, but I also lusted for it as a 20-year-old, all the Allen & Heath gear. So, of course, when you lust for a piece of equipment as a teenager, 20-year-old, you study its specs like a crazy person because you wish you owned it, and you can imagine yourself pressing those buttons and moving those faders. So yeah, you become almost like Rain Man for specs when you really lust after a piece of gear. So the MixWizard series I really wanted, and then they brought one out with effects built in. I was like, holy shit, because that wasn't really the standard back then. A D-Live man, nice. You must have a bit of coin. Let's start another container. I'll try not to drop this one like I did before. But yeah, Allen & Heath, fantastic mixers, particularly the, what am I trying to say? Brain's not working, sorry champs. The Z series. So they are, even the cheap ones are modular. So say for example, you've got a Yamaha mixer that's got 5 million knobs on the front panel, and you've got an op amp that's failed. You've got to replace that op amp. So what you've got to do is remove every single knob. If the pots are bolted to the chassis, you've got to remove every single nut, every single screw, and you've got to pull the whole board out just to get to that one op amp, right? With the Allen & Heath, the boards are mounted vertically and each channel is a module. Even on the very cheapest model, it's got like 6 PCBs all mounted in line. You can desolder one, or even unclip one. I think they've got connectors, and you can just slide out that single module. You can just replace it if you want, if you need to get a thing running that day, or you can work on that single module, only remove that row of knobs and pots, because they are bolted to the chassis on Allen & Heath stuff, unlike the cheap shit from Behringer. And you can work on that single module, put it back in, so it's a lot quicker. The power supplies are individual, separate. I'll just show you one. So this is a power supply out of the Z series. I think it goes up to the 14 channel, something like that. So you can have one of these spare, and if it does play up, you can just bloody whack it out and replace it. But they're very simple power supplies, so you should be right to repair them. They're all off the shelf stuff, no proprietary chips or anything, but they're pretty cheap anyway. So yeah, that's why I sell Allen & Heath, but these days I'm questioning whether that was a smart idea because the margins are so small. And well, I'll say this, a lot of the distributors, and if you are watching this and you're a distributor and you think I'm talking about you, well, if you think I'm talking about you, then I am, because that's a guilty conscience. They are jacking the price up like nobody's fucking business. Like every time I go to order something, it's 20% more expensive. And I've got to keep raising my prices. And then I'm watching these other resellers and their pricing sitting static. So you can't tell me they're selling everything at a loss. And the reps all say, oh, that's the old pricing. They must still have stock. It's like, okay, well, I watch their stock deplete to 0 and then get refreshed. And I know there was only one shipment. So explain that to me, dickhead. Oh. Yeah, well, you clearly don't want me to sell your product. So you may as well just forget about it. Retail is a fucking joke, man. And the worst part is I'm getting customers ringing me, asking me what to buy from my competition because it's cheaper. Like, which Behringer mixer should I buy from Sounds Easy? I don't give a fuck. Do I have a Sounds Easy sign out the front? No, I don't. Ask them. Oh, yeah, but I can't trust them because, you know, they're the ones selling it. Oh, fucking hang up. So, yeah, those calls have started recently. I'm not sure what the deal is there because I never used to get that. So it's got another Weber speaker. I'd love to try some Webers. I hear very good things. Very good things from people I trust. All right. So this one says 125 volt. And as you may have, you know, spied with your little eye, doesn't exactly look like a stock transformer, does it? Particularly because there's a bunch of wires disappearing down through that square hole that previously had half a transformer in it. So I'm already seeing lots of red flags here. We've got a really thick bank called to verify the donation. Thanks, Alan. I hope that didn't cause too many dramas for you. I got into trouble recently because my bank informed me that there may have been a fraudulent transaction, and it was to a company called Eats app or something, Uber Eats app. And I never use Uber Eats. I've never used it. I cannot justify some poor schlub on less than minimum wage, like barely making any money, riding their fucking bike to go get me a burrito while I'm sitting here in my gilded bloody office waiting for them to serve me a burrito, like when I could just get off my ass and go down the street and get one myself. So I don't use Uber Eats. I see it as a fundamentally flawed symptom of our selfishness in this day and age. Just like I never go through drive-thrus, I get out off my ass and walk in there, and there's never anyone at the counter. It's great because there's a line of 50 cars in the drive-thru. You walk straight up to the front counter, old mate sitting there twiddling his thumbs waiting for your order. You get your shit straight away. It's great. Like that coffee. There's like 6 cars in the drive-thru waiting for a coffee. I walked straight in and got one. Anyway, where was I? So, fraudulent transaction, $66, nothing major, but they said you might want to consider, like, this may have been a test transaction. So you should probably change your credit card details because I think someone's skimming your card. I'm like, fuck, okay. So I did that, got a new card, had to change all my accounts that are all direct debit and all my suppliers that I've got the auto filled in credit card stuff on their you know, website, web store or whatever. Did all of that, and then now I get this email. Get this email coming from Uber Cigar, which is a place I order cigars from. And he goes, my bank tells me that you've taken back that deposit that you paid for those box of the box of Monte Cristos that you ordered about 6 months ago. And I go, oh shit, hang on, what's the number on your account? Like, what's the name? He goes, oh, it comes up as Uber Eats. I'm like, ah. Oh. So I accidentally scammed my cigar supplier. I was very apologetic and sent that money back that afternoon, and he was very, very appreciative too, because I could have just ignored him. But yeah, that's the story on. I thought I got scammed, but I still haven't, and I'm happy about that. So anyway, red flags. Story time's over. Yeah, so Max has already found the first problem, the first red flag, and that is no grommet, no strain relief at all. It's given the old in out, and you can tell there used to be a strain reliever there because the cable's all distorted. This is like a natural rubber cable too, very old school, and it's also got exposed primary, so that is not leaving here with that cable, whether I work on it or not. I'm going to cut that off because I can't be giving that back in that condition for liability reasons. Sounds like a dick move, but hey, you're not the one getting sued. So 1 amp fuse, 125 volt, and that's still a 1 amp. So if you convert an amp to 240 volt, you've got to halve the fuse value because it's the same amount of power, twice the amount of voltage, half the amount of current. So that should be a 500 milliamp fuse now, but it's not. So what horrors await? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oof. Alright, so this has got to have something done because this is no good as it is. It's still got a death cap, so whoever installed the 3-prong plug does not understand what that thing does. Like now, granted, if that goes short, you're relying on your RCD in your house to save your life if you have one. If you don't have one, your life might not get saved. They've done another half job, so well, yeah, you've got this arrangement here, which is just not how you do business. That's almost touching other things, and it's rattling. We've got what looks like a I'm forgetting the name, CE distribution carbon comp dropper there for the 1K. The lines are thinner, and the body, you can see the molding mark, whereas you can't see that on the original Fender ones. And you've got the stock 10K there. Got lots of melted wire again. It seems to be par for the course. Got a replacement wire here, which maybe was under the board previously. All original tone stack. You got replacement bypass caps, so that's cool. 470 ohm Zcon resistor there. But my biggest gripe here is this stuff down here. So let's see if I can zoom in, give you a better view. So the wires coming out of the transformer, they're just sandwiched between that cutout in the chassis and the laminations of the transformer. So that's just asking to get cuts through the insulation. And this insulation's that sort of weird loosey-goosey shit that is on the solid core transformer windings. So this is one of those transformers where they don't have terminations on the transformer that have like stranded wire going to them. It's just literally the windings for the transformer come out, and then they've got some insulation on them, and that's all melted to hell around here, so it's not fantastic. Another thing I like doing to these is putting backup diodes, so if the rectifier ever shits itself, you're not delivering AC directly to the caps and destroying them and going short circuit. So that's something I would pretty much do to every rectifier valve amp that comes in, and it's never given me any problems from that point forward. So there's a lot of just weird work in this thing, so I want to rework this cap area. I want to give him an option to replace that transformer. He needs a soldering iron hot enough to do chassis groundwork. The twisted pair looks over twisted. Yeah, it does. But I'm probably not even going to touch this one unless he agrees to a new transformer, one that's suitable for this amplifier. Removing the death cap, replacing the power lead. I'd like to put a safety molded plug lead on that. I'm just reworking all the shitty soldering. Did I mention recap? So I want to replace them with probably axial caps again. I'll show you the method that I do for these at the moment that doesn't modify the chassis at all. See these two little holes here? There's one there and there's one down here. They can be utilized for a tag strip. Check that crimp connector on the transformer lug. Yeah, and look how good our ground connection is. There it is. Look, that's why you don't use them as grounds. It's holding on by a little blob of solder there, but you got the one over here. It's a bit of chaos over there. Bit of chaos AD. Tanks on the streets, confronting police, leading the plebes. Yeah, and they've disconnected these. So I don't know, just a bunch of weird stuff. Right, so I think I know what we've got to do to that one. I can write this stuff down later. I just want to keep it moving for you legends. It's 7 o'clock, I've only got 2 hours left before I've got to open. And that sucks. I want to go back to being closed Saturdays, but people just stand at the door knocking. I can't really be closed on a Saturday, being a retail place too. I can't really complain about lack of sales when I'm not even open on a Saturday, can I? That's my conundrum at the moment. Righto, let's get a lid for that one. So you noticed I'm not even powering those ones up because I'm not interested until he agrees to a certain amount of work. Otherwise I'm just not even going to touch them. Someone else down the road can do the half jobs, I'll do the full jobs. Right, so this is one, like I said, I think I sold around 2017, 2016. I think I bought this on, like, I don't know, I saw it and got excited. I probably had a few beers and was on eBay. And I just liked how fucked it looked. It looked way worse than this. It was like covered in shit. But I only cleaned it up a certain amount. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have cleaned it up a bit more, particularly around the input jacks. You need a kid to man the front on Saturday. Yeah, I've been thinking about that, Scotty. Something's going to happen because I can't keep going the way it is. Looks like 12 volt auto connector on the ground. Yeah, I think that's what it was, Alan. Zoiks. Are we legends or are we champions? Mate, you are both. You are alternative between the two. At any given time, you are in superposition. It's like Schrodinger's cat. You're both champion and legend simultaneously until that function collapses, and then you'll be one or the other when I call it. Come back to my trying to remember my physics classes. I love that champ. Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? So this got a Weber as well. Looks like an older Weber, and it wasn't in there when I put it in. When I sold it, I remember it had the stock Oxford speaker in it, and I was considering upgrading it, but I had like zero money at the time, and didn't. Left it in. It sounded okay. I don't think I'm a legend yet. Generally you become a legend when you're a champion that's dead. So you're a champion, I guess, yeah. I think Mike Patton mentioned that in a Faith No More song. You're a champion while you're alive, and then when you die you become a legend. The speaker's unplugged. It's not a good sign. It's got a JJ's 5x3, Electro Harmonic 6v6, and can't read it. Writing's rubbed off. Made in USSR. Looks like a Softec 12AX7. We care a lot. I thought Chuck Mosley died in like, that's when he left Faith. Well, I thought he ceased to be in Faith No More because he died. I didn't realise he was alive for ages. Yeah, I just had a complete idiotic moment there. I thought that's why he left Faith No More, but I don't know. I've got to look more in the history. The old Chuck. Yeah, it's weird. It's like when you think a celebrity's dead and then you find out they're not. They've just gone to ground. You should have. The night is young, coming up to 11:30 PM and it's still bright. What? Where are you, Mike? 11:30 and it's still bright? Wait, are you in like the Netherlands or something? Oh, you're talking about the background, or they kicked him out because he was crapo? Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I enjoyed it, but it was a moment in time. He did look very Pauly Shore. It's like Pauly Shore, everyone assumes he's dead now. But he's just doing his thing. I've got a mate that looks just like Pauly Shore and he speaks like him too. He's like an Aussie version of Pauly Shore. Halftime. So, oh, you're in Ireland, Mike. What? It's still bright at 11 o'clock PM in Ireland. Really? Surely not. In Ireland. Ireland. I've been talking to my mates about doing a motorcycle tour of Scotland. Probably not going to happen until 2025 though. I can only sort of afford to go overseas once a year. You think you went to school with him? Who? Pauly Shore? Courtney Love sang for them, surely. Yeah, I heard that. I haven't seen the footage, but I probably don't want to. I saw them when they got back together again out here, Faith No More, that is. And it was entertaining, man. It was fantastic. They always start with a real funny, cheesy song. And they were all wearing like, everything on stage was white. And they were all wearing white suits and stuff. Alrighty. So, first thing I noticed. Did you ever notice? So as Irish, Mike, are you Irish or are you just over there? If you're Irish, are you guys aware of Jimone? Because he's a Irish comedian who's, I think, lived here ever since he became famous. I don't know if he's even known about over there. Alright. So we've got 2 loose nuts on their studs. It's like got to a certain point, it got tight and just went meh. And that's where they stayed, yeah, because the screw's starting to turn. So recently on a tech forum, there was a lot of shitting on another tech who charged a lot for a amplifier repair. And one of the things he detailed on the invoice was replaced a lot of these studs. And they were like, well, why were all the studs missing? Well, this is why, because that stud started rotating. And these are a weird screw that's got a coarse thread on the timber end and a machine thread on this end. And when the coarse thread starts spinning in this shitty chipboard, there's not a lot you can do, and often they just fall out, and old mate customer doesn't know what to do because there's a big hole where there should be a bolt, so they just throw it in the bin, and before you know it, the speaker's hanging on by one bolt, like that super reverb in there, and then that falls out, and then they don't know what to do, and then it comes here. So that's why those bolts go missing. But top points on me making a little cable there, 2016 Brad, and that's pretty much how I do it to this day, except it's been soldered because I didn't replace this speaker, so they've reused my speaker cables, but just tack soldered, and there's yeah, look, that solder's just coming off. You shouldn't be able to just do that to the solder connection, eh? And the speaker's loose, so that's probably its main issues on this one. However, I think this one had a report of hum, which is strange because I did a recap and they're F&Ts. But anyway, we'll have a look at that in a sec. So how did I do? That's taller than the cap. I'll just whack that out. It's got those shitty Mallory sockets that I hate. And in my opinion, champions, this is how you do it. "2016 Brad was onto something." There's stuff I'd do different, of course. But the general premise is that you leave the old cap in place, fold its terminals over to get them out of the way, and chuck a couple of axials on the tag strip that's mounted through the existing holes in the chassis, so you don't have to drill anything, right? If you absolutely wanted to return it to stock in the future, you could. Just got to get a new can cap or whatever you can get your hands on these days. But yeah, we've got our 3 sections there. Now notice here I've got a 22, 47, 22. The rectifier doesn't want to see more than a 22 without some resistance between it, so, or a choke. So 22, well, I think 30 microfarad is the highest for a 5Y3. And in a single-ended amp, that can still have significant ripple, and particularly if it's biased rather hot. So a good way of just lowering the hum a little bit to get better filtering downstream, like from the screen node on, is just have your bigger node as the second, and that actually quietens things down quite a bit in this design. Curiously, I've still got the stock cathode resistor there. I've replaced the 1K and the 10K with metal films because they're probably wildly out of spec, drifted, out of tolerance I should say. And I've thrown some Nichicons there as your bypass caps. So I'd find it surprising if one of these F&Ts had failed. However, I have had them fail, and they are only 85-degree caps. So I might fire this one up and we'll check for ripple. We don't have to put another cap over it in a little box with some leads just to make sure that, you know, the filter caps work. You just measure the ripple. Set your fucking meter to AC. See how much AC is where there should be only DC. There's always going to be some degree of AC because it's ripple. But you don't need to parallel caps across caps to know if the caps have failed. You need to, because you know, the cap that failed might have gone short or soft short, and the new cap will still have excessive ripple and it tells you fuck all. So just measure the AC on each node, and that tells you. You don't have to do anything, just pull your meter out and know how to use it. Oh, hello. I went to school with him. Last night a real spunk was adamant she was going to see Michael Jackson when he comes back to town, right? A real spunk. So when you say spunk, you mean she was hot, but done. You folks probably know, but Courtney Love. Oh, hang on. I'm back in the chat. but he isn't dead. Oh, I thought Chuck Mosley was dead. Oh, fuck.
I'm Irish, alright. Never heard of him. Well, he's a comedian. So anyway, he's a massively popular comedian over here, and he's Irish, and he plays up his Irishness a lot. And a lot of his jokes start with, "Do you ever notice that when you're in the shower, something, you know?" So yeah, he is funny. I'm not making fun of any tech, Scott. Shut up. Morning, Dad. Morning, Mum, if you're watching. At what point do you just make a new baffle board? Well, the problem with that is it's held captive in some slots called dados. So you need to like cut it with a jigsaw. It's pretty big surgery to replace that baffle. You'd have to cut that out. You have to put in some cleats. You have to make a new baffle out of probably marine ply. 9mm would be my preference. You've got to spray paint it. You've got to put some cleats on the front to space the grill out so it doesn't flap against the front when you're playing. There's quite a bit of work in that. You're probably talking a good 4 or 5 hours. Who's the comedian? Jamoan, Alan. Jamoan. I'll see if he's got a good link that I can. He's probably got a. Yeah, there he is. Oh, I can just desk share, can't I? I forgot about that. I spelt his name wrong. Sorry, Jamoan. Alright, still got audio? Yep, sweet. There he is. Did you ever notice? I pissed myself once. That's a good video. Yeah, so he's funny. He's been over here since the early 90s. I think he's lived over here the whole time. I can't remember what I was onto there. I think it's just because I heard someone Irish and wanted to know if he was known about in Ireland. So we were, well, this is one of my mates. He was at the local pub once, and they got kicked out. You know, end of the night. So they all decided to go kick on at someone else's house down the road, and this was at Springwood, New South Wales, just up the road. And so they kick on, and they all go and buy cases of beer and go back, as they do, at like 2 a.m. And they hear this knock on the door, and they open the door. My mate opened the door and he goes, "You're Jamoan." He goes, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "You got beer?" He goes, "Yeah, I know." In you come. So he came in, and Jamoan partied with everyone that night. He was a bit of a wild child back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think, from what I've heard. I think he was supposedly married at the time, but I think he may or may not have had a few girls on his arm that night. You're Jamoan. Let's plug this thing in. Let's see what's going on. I've got all these cables to adapt speakers to my rig. Jesus, look at them all. What do we got? Banana to male, banana to female, bare wire to male, RCA to female, that's the one we want. Male 4.75 spades to female, female 6.3 spades to female. For some reason I've got one of the shit Fender ones lying around. Random low level lead. Why do I keep these? These are the Fender ones that always fail. For some reason they've made it back into my stash. They can go in the bin. What else we got? 4.7 female spade to female jack. And the list goes on. We got binding post to female. This is all the stuff that I've got for just to test every speaker connection known to man. I should really clean this crap out. Just got random bits of wire in there. Oh god. Alright, let's get serious. They can go in the bin. because they suck. Oh, there's one hiding. That is a patch lead, so that shouldn't be in there. This is a random bit of speaker lead, so that shouldn't be in there. I worked myself into carpal tunnel, total right hand paralysis with pain from pulling a whole bunch of wire wrap pins. No more 18-hour work days. Pulling wire wrap pins. What are you working on, Seth? That sounds like a pretty hectic project. Why is there a heart in the corner of my screen? It's asking me to send a heart. Now it's blocking people's comments. Fuck you, OBS, you're a piece of shit. English born Northern Irish. You've got the Northern Irish accent down. Yeah, I like accents, they're fun. I reckon the English and Irish I could probably get away with people thinking I'm that. American, I'll probably get away with it in like California, but not anywhere southern. Or they'd think I was Californian. New Zealand, I make fun of New Zealanders too much, so it would be obvious. What else could I get away with? Anything that's a native English speaking language I'd naturally enjoy copying. It's just fun, I don't know why. I love the fact that Americans just are completely incapable of copying an Australian accent. I've never heard an American do it properly. Like even professional actors, they suck at it. Interesting that Weber included mounting holes in the speaker frame for mounting an output transformer. Oh, is that what they were? Yeah, they would be, wouldn't they, Gooden? Yeah, useful for speaker replacement on old Valco Gretsch airline, etc. Where they put the they put the output transformer on the actual frame of the speaker. Yeah. Huh. I saw that and just thought that's weird. But yeah, Gooden, his old mind's ticking over like always, mate. Do the Welsh accent. Well, yeah, I can't do Welsh. I had a Welsh maths teacher actually, and he was really cool. We used to call him. We used to call him Scottish to give him the shits. I'm not Scottish, I'm Welsh. whatever. You'd get upset by that, but he was a good man. Californians have an accent? Yeah. I think I could do a decent Aussie accent. I'll have to hold you to that, Alan. We might have to do a screen share or do a Zoom chat so you can demonstrate. So we can demonstrate your accent for us and we can decide. Maori isn't Kiwi, bro. Yeah, I know. Accents are brilliant, especially Welsh. Afrikaans. Yeah, South African. That's like I'm surprised how similar it is to Australian. It's like a cross between Australian and New Zealand, and yeah, it's a weird accent. Geordie, no, can't do that one. I can do the Scouser. Old 1970s stuff, some really nice old solid state stereos, some old USA made Thomas Organ Company Vox, Italian Vox 1960s wire pedals. Yeah, right. And they've all got wire wrap posts on them. Still live in US mid-Atlantic. People from New England, Midwest, West Coast think I have a southern accent. Yeah, it's all relative, eh? How about pidgin English local Hawaiian accent? Yeah, that's weird. We should we should do a stream where everyone gets to have a turn on Zoom and demonstrates their accent and what other accents they can do. Or maybe we shouldn't. So I'm guilty as well. 1 amp. Slow blow. Oh no, it's a 1 amp for the 250 as well. I think they just go, fuck it, 1 amp's close enough. It's actually printed on the back. So we've got our voltage set to 240. We'll put it on blocks. We'll flip her over again. We'll see what this hum's all about, and we'll see if we can quickly diagnose it. It's a simple amp. If we can't quickly diagnose it, we should probably just close the shop and go find another job. Okie dokie. Got my speaker cab so you can hear the hum. Ooh, that's a worry. When you find one of these on the floor, you think, oh shit. So that's an amphenol insulator from one of their jack plugs. So either I've pulled them out and one of them's fallen on the floor, or I've forgotten to put one on when I made a cable for someone. It's a worry. Do a lucky dip of accents, yeah. I'm Canadian, other than Atlantic Canada, Newfoundland, that's NF. We don't have much of an accent. It's more of a mispronunciation issue. Yeah, so Newfies, Newfoundland, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. They have a very distinct accent. There's actually a whole sort of, it's almost like their version of, like Brad Pitt in Snatch, if you've seen the movie Snatch. Oh, you better run with your sugar legs to carry. Save your breath for pulling your pose, boys. That kind of thing. But it's their version of that. Right, do we use the Variac? Yeah, let's use the Variac. Because I know Dad's watching. Just establish if we've got any shorts. I've got shorts, I'm wearing shorts. I'm going the all year round shorts challenge this winter. In order to speak Candida, isn't that a disease? You need to know what craft dinner is and how to say E. Yeah, I don't know what a craft dinner is, but I say E all the time, or what's the other one? What? What seems to be like a shortage of give it what for, give it what for, give it what. Give her what, you know, give her what for. Like if you're gonna undo a wheel nut, you got to really give her what. How good is Trailer Park Boys? Yes, it is great. So are you Canadian, Scott? I'm forgetting who's from where, sorry. Yeah, they did that for Cheap Fast Assembly. That was it was all old dogs of misuse of the square pins instead of pieces been wrapped in the soldered. Yeah. So that's a bit of a hack thing that a lot of people do. A wire wrap connection is one of the most sturdy connections you can possibly have if it's done correctly. There's literally no air between the connections. Yeah, if you're looking at how to properly wire wrap stuff, it's gone a bit the way of the dodo, but that's how like computers and everything used to be made, wire wrap wire. And that's Kynar wire, which I use, but mainly for circuit board repairs because it's so fine and it's nice single core silver plated wire. Oh god, chat jumpy thing. I live in Atlantic Canada and I still have a difficult time figuring out what Newfies are saying. Yeah, my family is slightly easier to understand than Snatch. They're like an hour west of Belfast. Yeah. Trailer Park Boys. I wrapped myself up in a Trailer Park Boys in universe at the start of lockdown, and I watched that every night. It was my favourite show. Use the Kynar wire, people. Yeah, that's right. Seth used the proper shit, and that is Kynar. Conair. Oh, if I can find it. That's the stuff. Kynar. Wrapping wire. So I guess Kynar is probably a proprietary name, but it's copper wire, AG, which means silver coated, insulation PVDF, whatever that means, 300 volt rating at 105 degrees. That tiny stuff is 300 volt rated. So clearly that jacket material is some pretty special plastic. Right, let's set everything to 10. No, let's turn the volume down, turn the tone midway. Power's on. I'm monitoring the mains draw, current draw, power draw. It's sitting at 5 watts because it's the magnetization current of the transformer. So we're sitting at like a volt, maybe I think 4 volts. This sits at 0. When it's set to 0, it's like 4 volts AC. So let's monitor B+. And at the same time, let's put a alligator clip on the chassis for a 2nd meter that we can use to probe about. So I'm just using this meter to monitor that we are getting HT. Actually, let's not even do that. Let's just pretend that we've only got 1 meter. Let's just say we've got 1 shitty multimeter, nothing else, and 1 set of probes. Let's diagnose this amp. You don't need special shit. You just need to know how to use what you've got. Let's set this to AC. We'll just look at the mains. So at the moment we've got 4.3 volts AC coming into the unit. So we'll bring that up. Just watch the current. It's not running away excessively. We're starting to get signal on the output. Crackling and hum. Intermittent hum with power fluctuations. So I'm going with, it's going to be a shorted output valve. So let's remove the output valve. And we'll see if the power fluctuations stop. $12 watts where previously it was 20 something. 13, we're up to 140 volts. And we've got no fluctuation in power output. Drawing 20 watts and we're at 200 volts. So I'll be happy to plug that in to the mains. But I'm not going to because there's no load. So these caps could get exceeded in their voltage rating. So now we've got 230 volts on the cap, and that's not going anywhere because we don't have 6v6 in the output. So let's put a new 6v6 in. I've got a test one here which we could use. All the lawnmower boys are out there earning their keep. I've got 1,000,000 EL34s, 1,000,000 5881s, not many 6v6s. Got the Taddies there. What else have I got? Thought I had a single one floating around. Now let's chuck a Taddy in there. I don't want to break up a quad though. That's the problem. I know I've got 3 at home. Damn it. Who wants to go for a drive to go get a 6v6? Michelle, bring me a 6v6. No, well, we're chucking JJ's in there. Here's kicking and got you now. My God, I missed a lot of comments. But me, Kraft dinner is mac and cheese. Ah, Kraft, because that's the company that makes the packets that you eat in. Take it for a rip, eh? Canadian what? Sorry. Yep. Oh, God. That's a weird half burp. The sorry and wallet. Who needs translation, eh? Sorry. Use the kind of white people, yes. Snatch is a classic. There's an ethnic group in Ireland and through the UK who generally speak just travellers, yeah. I'm from Seattle originally, so there's a bit of Canada in how we speak. Get bubbles on, mate. Bubbles? What? What, you want me to drink wine in the morning? Got to run, Brad. Oh, 35th birthday party. Wow. All right, Rob, have a good party, mate. 35. Tell him he's halfway to 70. That'll fuck with him. I use Teflon insulated Cat 5 or Cat 6 wire for board repairs. Wow. Where are you getting Teflon jacketed Cat 5 from, Seth? Grain-oriented copper telco wire. That stuff kills wire strippers. Yeah, copper ain't just copper, eh? There's many different grades of copper. I had to go out for a bit. Have I missed you checking the caps using the meter? Yeah, it hasn't even got to that yet because it's the valve that was shorted. Not sure. I'm in Windsor, Ontario. I grew up in Windsor. Get out, Max. What, get out of Windsor? What's wrong with Windsor? There's a Windsor here too. It's just down the road. Everything's just down the road in Australia. It's like 50 k's away, but it's just down the road. I want to start my own town in US and call it GTFO. The champs are sawdust and glue MDF board. Yeah, it sucks. That's the biggest problem with them, Seth. The cabinet's falling apart. You can get tweed champ cabinets till the cows come home, but not many people make reproduction blackface or silverface champ boxes. The beer is kicking in. Yeah, boys. The dad seems so chill, Brad. You must have got your honoriness. Honoriness. I don't even know what that means, Scott. I've got to look that up. Honoriness from your mum. No, Dad is chill now because he's retired. He didn't used to be chill. Wife. Yeah, that's... someone sent me a video of a Newfie conversation and it was fantastic. I'd watch it now, but then I'll get a copyright strike. Brad, I have a... Someone's doing revs. Someone's got a shitbox ute out the front. I'm going to go laugh at him. Ha, look at your shitbox. You think your car's good. It's a pile of shit. Oh. Yeah, P-plater confirmed. Oh, look at his... look at his fucking antennas. Oh my God, people are fucked. I've got to go film this, guys. This is fucking funny as... So there's a dickhead out there. There's these dickheads out here that are BNS ball fans. So there's Blokes and Sheila's ball. It's a big alcoholic romp out in sticks somewhere, and everyone takes their shitbox cars out there, and they're proud of them for some reason. And they put massive mud flaps on them, huge, like 50 antennas, even though they don't even have one CB radio, and like running lights, and they put like the big truck exhaust stacks with the rain caps on them and shit. They're just mentally ill people, right? And they're all proud of it, and they get together and have their big love in. So there's one of them out the front. He's got like 12 antennas on his shitbox ute that should have been in the landfill, you know, decades ago. But he's got stubby coolers on all his antennas. So he's got like 50 stubby coolers because he's proud of how much of a pisshead he is. And he's out there revving his shitbox. V6 pile of crap ute. Man, I've got so little tolerance for people these days. I've got to, I don't know, got to do ayahuasca or something to chill out. So we've still got residual voltage. We've got a socket there that barely holds onto the pins of that valve. So these Mallory valve sockets, I've talked about them before. That's what screwed me on the twin restoration. I was just wrapping her up, and these pissy little thin terminals on these things just, I'll use my plastic thing because it's probably still got voltage on it. These plastic pins, these thin metal pins here, they snap really easily. But the biggest problem is their contact area is like 5 mil down in the hole. So you get your valve pins, we'll just align the keyway there. So that's like touching them, you can see them moving, but not injected yet. Injected. They're only holding on, that valve only moved about 1 millimeter, maybe 1.5 mil, 2 mil before it actually was held on, and there's almost no force required to remove it. It just, it's only holding on by the very tips of those pins. So those brown sockets suck. Got me a V6 with an aluminium head, was revving her up in the parking lot and blew a gasket. Oops. Are they Holdens? Yeah, they're almost invariably Holdens or Fords because they're stuck in a bygone era when we actually used to make vehicles in Australia that sucked. I've got no reverence for anything from Holden or Ford because they sucked. They'd last 5 years and then they're on blocks in your front yard, and people were still proud of them when they're on blocks in their front yard. I thought all heads were aluminium these days. 75. I don't know, I just could not give a fuck about cars anymore. I want a motorcycle, but that's it. I never really cared about cars. I was into four-wheel drives for a little while, but then, you know, they keep breaking and costing money, so that was a self-limiting endeavour. I've just got the high ace, which I use for work, but not really anymore, so I'm thinking about getting rid of that because it's just a big drain on my bank account every year for insurance and whatever. Servicing and all that shit. Just ride a push bike. There's a reason we don't have a manufacturing industry anymore. We were never really good at it. Yeah, that's right. Everyone's like rah 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 made in Australia, but we're not that good at it, let's be honest. The reason we don't really do it anymore is because we kind of sucked. We've got to be honest about that. But when the nationalism takes over and everything we make has to be declared as good, otherwise you're unpatriotic, well, of course nothing gets improved because no one's really analysing the situation with a clear head. Yeah, while we're here, mate, we've got another hour. Let's solve all the world's problems, eh? All right, got a new valve in there, 6v6 I should say. Let's give it full chooch. Ping. All right, we've got full 240 going into it. We're on DC. We've got 490. That's pretty up there. You know what? I think I'm going to click this over to 260 volt because that's pretty high. And that was after it had already started sagging a bit, so you were down to 9 volts. So yeah, that was conducting. So bang on 399. Let's see what it goes up to. 450. Now that's on 460 volts input, so that's a bit more comfy. It's probably half the reason the valve failed. 380 volts. What have we got on the cathode? 26. We're drawing 43 watts from the wall. So no hum now. Let's check our ripple. Our fripple. We've got 4.2 volts ripple on B+, that's pretty good. That's better than expected. We've got 146 millivolts on the screen node. On the preamp node we've got, hopefully, fuck all. Yep, about 5 millivolts. There's negligible hum. It's everything wide open. A little bit of intermittent noise. I think that was just a pot. Sounds like there might be DC on that pot. Don't know if you can pick that up. Wait a minute, I've got the Mode 2 fired up. Why aren't I using it? Because I'm a dickhead, that's why. Oh, shit. The speaker plug just pulled out as I bumped the speaker cable. So that's got to be retensioned. My plug, I mean, the RCA's alright. I think the socket does need to be retensioning. It's not really holding onto that pin very well, but it's the shroud that's supposed to provide most of the mechanical support, the mechanical support. Saturday Markets is the only place to get Australian made, and that's an excuse for just an excuse for crappy art. You know what I got from a market? That amp's on 43. Let's play this thing first, just check it. All the ripples are right. I think knocking it down to 260 volts on the input is calmed everything down. Probably make that valve last a much longer time. I think I would have sent it out at 260. They've probably seen that and gone, oh, we're on 240 here, let's change it to 240. So I'll have a discussion with the owner and say, look, just leave it on 260 because this one's particularly spicy meatball. So that'll cool everything down, and I'll have a look at the other components for drift now that we've solved the shorted valve issue. Here's the part where I forget how to play guitar because I haven't played enough. I've really got to start playing more. I sat down last night to try and play and nothing came to my head, and then the guitar needed a truss rod adjustment and then snapped a string, and then I just got the shits and put it away. It's blowing out the mic, hang on. Normally that's not scratchy on my guitar, so that's concerning. Let's see if there's any DC on the tip of that plug, because that could be a bad preamp valve, could be a bad grid leak. Well, that's on AC. Smoke in the water, dude, yeah. I've got about 0.8 volt. 0.8 volt. So does that mean we've got an open grid leak? What does that mean? The valve is oh fuck, there's a ceiling there. Another dent to replace. Repair. Does that mean that the valve's playing up? Let's try the easiest thing first, new valve. You don't have to unplug it to do that, but turn it off to do that, but I like to because the pop's annoying. Hard to beat a decent champ. Yep, good on you, champ. Put a known goodie in there. Do you remember the goodies? How good was that show? Bring my mic volume back up again. Sorry about that. All right, let's fire this thing up again. Got to I'll just put a empty plug in it just to measure, see if that leakage has gone away on the input there. Yeah, I just did that dusting. Thanks for joining us, everyone, by the way. I don't know how many people are viewing at the moment because my 45 people. All right, we've got an open circuit there, so it's going to have some hum, but let's just check, see if that DC's gone away. And no, it is not. So, does that mean our grid leak is open? What's the resistance there? .1 meg, should be alright. .3 volts on the volume, 0.8 volts. Overall, I think we've got board leakage, champs. Obviously, that's fucking... Yeah, so we've got board leakage from these two plate loads, which is quite common. Because they're right next to that treble cap there. Come on, Panny boy, don't zoom in that far if you can't handle the focus. Dickhead camera. Although that would be artistic if I was taking footage of like car headlights or something and then you zoom out. So yeah, see down here, you got this here, which is the slope resistor. So this is the output from the plate, and this is the plate load here. So this is your supply here, which has got 350 volts on it, and then this is the part, this is the tone stack caps, that's your treble one obviously, and that's supposed to be isolated from here, but they're like 5 millimeters away from each other, so there'd be leakage through here. Let's lift that, see if leakage goes away and the crackling on the volume pot, because this has got that wax coating on it that we all know and love. Pop the mic back up again. Oh, I already read that. Love the Beast is a great Aussie racing doc with Eric Banner. Eric Banner's a national icon. He's a legend. He's one of the very few Australians that actually sort of broke the overseas market from pretty humble beginnings. Do you guys know Porter? Porter was a character by Eric Banner on various comedy shows, I think. Fast Forward, comedy company, comedy something. He was basically what we call a bogan, and he loved his Holden Commodores, he loved his VBs, and he loved his Winnie Blues. And he became the stereotypical bogan that we all basically base our boganness on. G'day Eric, what's up champ? Oh, you know, just working on a champ. How you going champ? That coffee's getting cold. Now we've got 10 volts and it's rising again. 10 volts ain't gonna kill us. Let's check the first node. 11. Because there's no load, they're all the same. Let's lift that connection, if my soldering iron's warmed up, yep. Or float it in midair. and see if that voltage goes away in the scratchy volume pot. Sorry, treble pot. Where are my tweezers? Need to do some tweezing. Scritch. Just tack solder that. That would be considered a repair to some people, but to me it's just temporary. Plug that back in. Ping. Brad, I saw you post about electroacoustic maintenance and the problematic cutout in the bridge. I've got a cold Clark fat lady. Do these have the same issue? Not really, Paul. So they're a different, slightly different design, pretty similar concept, but it's a little bit better implemented in the cold Clarks. I've gotten so much heat from that video about maintenance. One fuckwit recently just would not let up. He's just like, you hate maintenance. You hate maintenance. Why do you hate maintenance? Oh my God, He's like, you just hate maintenance because you're selling brands other than maintenance, so you're just trying to shit on maintenance to sell your guitars. It's like, dude, I sell like one guitar a year. Get fucked. And man, I had to block him. It's just like, I am doing this shit for free to tell you what to buy, so you don't get your wallet raped. I'm sorry. Would you just go and buy what you want then? I don't give a fuck. Just hit the red X in the corner and go and watch cat videos. I get so much heat for just showing problems with products, because it's like a religion. Like, you have to love this completely because I just bought one, and I'll get upset if you tell me the truth about it. It's like, grow up. Anyway, what voltage have we got on here? We got fuck all volts now. 80 millivolts, so a little bit of leakage still, but not 800. And the scratchiness has gone away. So there we go. Board leakage confirmed. What is a maintenance? It's an acoustic guitar brand over here, Eric, that has some pretty major issues with its construction, but no one wants to admit it. And whenever you say and show that it's happened, people put their head in the sand and go, no, it didn't happen. You must be making it up. It's like, I don't make this up. Like, why would I make up that bridges fly off maintenance every time we have a heat wave? Like, I don't sell maintenance because of these issues. Instead, I went with Prattley. Yeah, well, I want to go with Prattley too, because I want something that's Australian built by someone who isn't stubborn and doesn't basically deny issues with their design. If you've got an issue with the design, fix the fucking thing. But as soon as you fix it and change the design, that means that first you have to admit that you were wrong, and then you open yourself to class action. So they do the Apple thing where it's like, nothing was ever wrong. Look into this light, ping, you know, you must be mistaken. It's something you did. It's not us that made a mistake. It must be you using it wrong. The kind of gaslighting bullshit that you expect from multinational corporations, not an Australian guitar manufacturer, for fuck's sake. But anyway, I'll get heat for this video as well. Whatever, I don't care. I'll just delete and comment and I'll hide you from the channel. Fuck off. I changed my profile pic to my Bogan Challenges badge. Oh shit, YBA. That's quite a significant move there, considering your name's 75 YBA. Our first order lands in August as they're made to order. Oh, that sucks. I still got to get... I just want to see one first before I pull a trigger on an order. You're braver than me, Six, pulling a trigger on an order. I want to inspect these things first because I actually want to see what's on my shelf rather than, you know. What's up with the power switch on this Champ double throw? No, it's just a single throw double, it's a double pole single throw, Eric. So it's just controlling the, because it's an import, it's probably European regulations. They probably have to break the active and the neutral at once. So they've got, it's better to do it this way, it's safer. Just for a quick laugh. I've seen one before, that's why I'm confident in them. Well, if you've seen one and you're confident in them, then so am I 6, so I should get some ordered. Anyway, I've got to stop whinging so much. It's just, I haven't been in a good mood at all this week. And yes, I'm a YouTube channel, but I'm a person that has moods. So our crackling's gone away, that's good. So I think we need to clean this board up. Need to check the components for drift. No problems with these F&Ts. The customers seemed to think that maybe it needed another cap because we had hum. The hum was caused by a shorted 6v6 drawing too much current. Luckily the output transformer's okay. The fuse didn't blow, probably because it's 1 amp, and we should probably have a half amp in there, because the reason this has got a 1 amp in it is because they have to have the multi-voltage selection, but they also have to have it so when you switch it around to 110 volts, you're not going to blow a half amp fuse. So that fuse is set for 110 volts, but when you change the voltage selection, you should be changing the fuse as well, but it's too much information to fit on the back panel, so they didn't bother. They just said put it in the biggest fuse that you need for the lowest voltage, and the other ones, man, they'll probably be fine, but at the voltage that we're running this at, 240, it really should have a half amp fuse, which probably would have blown with a shorted 6v6. It still feels warm, but that's only because it's sitting near the output fan of my laptop. Alright, so we know what we've got to do with all these champs now. So let's move on to the next batch of amplification devices. Where's the container from that one? Ah, it's in here. Got a near mint super champ with shot power tubes and reverb tank. I think they had lucky I had a replacement on hand. Oh god, mental blank. What's the super champ again? Is that? I'm thinking, hang on, super champ. Fender super champ. Alright, Flender super champ. Oh, super champ X2, that's the DSP thing. Yeah, might want to move that on where you can, Eric, I hate to tell you, because the DSP boards go in them and they're not available. It's like the XD, once the DSP board goes, can't even really use the transformer because it doesn't have enough heater current to turn into a full valve amp. There's not a lot of use in those things. You've kind of got to add a filament transformer just to get more preamp valves in it, because it's only got a phase inverter. Rivera Super Champ. Oh, Rivera. Oh, Rivera era. 18 watt. That's push pull with vibrato and reverb. Okay, so I'm thinking of a different model. I was thinking of the X2 digital valve thing. Oh, I'm whistling it again. There you go. There you go, good one. Got the J Giles back. What next? Supro? No. Let's do something that is a definitive problem. That's a restoration. Not even a restoration, that's an upgrade. Champion 100. Valve state. That's going to be pretty boring, as all valve states are. They're just cracked solder joints usually. Let's, I've got a Trace Elliott. Forgot about that one. Got a refret to do before the end of the day as well. Let's do a Black Star. Alright, HT something. Black Star. Original is 6v6 and a, yeah, bloody Compactrons. They're a pain in the ass. I still have a sleeve of new 6C10s. Yeah, Seth. Bloody hell, mate. You can buy a new car with that. They are hen's teeth. Hand wide with a lead channel and tube reverb, no trim. Yeah. Almost time to go get more coffee, I think. I was worried about like drinking and chewing noises with a lapel mic. I hope it's not too weird. All right, what's wrong with this one? Where's the job sheet? That's a Fender Twin, Valve State VS100, Fender Power Chorus, Line 6 Helix, Blackstar HT20. Noise when guitar plugged in. It's kind of what you're after, isn't it? Noise. Okay, let's give it some juice, see what's going on. Oh shit. Pretty tempted to just ride my mountain bike today and not even come in. It's been that kind of week. It's a Blackstar. There's a problem. You can. Well, I bought a 6C10 just to have one, $50. Bloody hell, it's $50 just for a 12AX7 these days, Eric. Those things would be $500 now. You can use a 12AX7 and a 6AV6 tube for the LFO, or two 12AX7s, and remember not to wire up the heater in the unused half of the 12AX7. Huh. I met the Blackstar rep at Motor City Guitar Centre over a decade ago. Nice guy. Well, he would have been a local Blackstar rep, but yeah, cool. It's a Blackstar, there's a problem right there. I hear they opened a parts department. Who did? Blackstar? Well, they fucking need one. I have a Trace Elliott Tube Tramp, which despite the name is mostly, I think that's the one I got here. It's mostly a fat amp. It was my first gigging amp, still quite like it. Yeah, some of the Trace Elliott's, they sounded really good. What was the problem with the Helix? New foot switch, well, new buttons all around. Two or three of, or one has failed completely, and two or three are starting to play up, so we're just replacing them all. I've got to look at the footprint of them and get some on order. Alright, master down, reverb. Well, let's leave everything halfway, except for the master. Master! Where's the volume I've been after? 60 watts, dropping down to 40. Starting to climb only now. To 1, 2. This will have, it's a no bias. I expect it would have the bias cut off with nothing plugged in deal, but it has risen up to 60 something watts, and I am hearing noise from the speaker, so maybe not on this model, or maybe that's the problem. Maybe the switch on the jack's not cutting off the bias like it should or something. Who knows? Let's have a play. What do I think of the Blackstar St. James amps? No, they are not worth the money, because it's essentially one of these in a fancy box. I hate to tell you. I'll get heat for that too, but I don't really give a fuck. It's basically an HT amp. It's got the HT marking on the circuit board. So it's a bog stock amp that's just got a few component value differences, I think, because the markings say HT whatever inside, not so much the fancy St. James bullshit on the front. I'm not a fan of Blackstar, but hey, okay. Alright, so the bias isn't changing. We've got hiss as I bring up the master. We've got reverb, but there's something in the input that's just humming like crazy when you plug in. Do we get any signal on top of that? Nah. So yeah, something in the front end's gone. Let's open the bugger up and have a look. I'd much rather hear the truth, thanks. No worries. Thank you for not attacking me for telling the truth, like everyone else does. Earth fault, yeah, probably. Well, yeah, ground on the front end, probably. I mean, the St. James sounded okay if you can get one cheap. I mean, if you can get a Black Star cheap, buy it, because they're unbeatable value for money in their feature set. Just don't expect it to last 10 years or more. Like, that's the thing these days. You never had to make this choice before. When you were paying $2 grand for an amp plus $2 grand plus for an amp, you never had to make the decision that, do I want one that's reliable, or do I want one with, you know, all the fancy bells and whistles? I mean, look at all the shit on this. Yeah, mains input, speaker output, emulated output, headphone output, cabinet simulation, MP3 line input, effects loop with switchable level, foot switch, USB audio. So, you know, you've got all the features, but you're sort of trading off the features with reliability a bit. But a lot of these manufacturers aren't very open about their internal construction either. Like, they actually actively go online and take down posts that show the internals of their amp. And that's very dishonest. There's no way you can sort of dress that up as, you know, safety or however Apple wants to say it. 2K amp. 2K for amp, better hand wired. It better be hand wired, I guess. Yeah, it's hidden behind a little heart because OBS is a pile of shit. Disposable amps, yeah, more or less. I mean, everything's repairable, but how many times do you want to repair something? The basic thing of it is, when you got surface mount components, like, they're fantastic. But when you've got the powers and the voltages in a traditional style valve amp, and you've got traces that are a millimetre away from each other, you're going to have problems. So you've got to design it differently. But when stuff on a surface mount board goes wrong, it goes wrong in a big way, and it takes out a lot of other shit nearby. So generally, the circuit board replacement is the best way forwards. And because they only produce the circuit boards for a certain amount of time, they're not going to be available forever. So there's like a life cycle expectancy of this stuff. And after that, it's kind of, you know, you could repair it, you could run wires, you could fly shit above the board, you could spend hours on it just to patch together something that works to replace a burnt area of the board, or you can just throw the thing in the bin and get another amp, and that's what everyone generally does. I wanted a Black Star Artisan 30 when I was younger, but now I've had so many concerns about the manufacturer, I don't think so. Well, Paul, the Artisan is probably one of the very few Black Star amps I could recommend. Because it does have the old school construction, and it's simple. It doesn't try and fit USB and bloody cabinet emulation and all this shit in it. Speaking of actually good cars, I just got a Gumtree ad for a KB laser gear. I don't know what that is. People were buying tubes at drugstore back then, no matching at all, no microphonics or testing. Yeah, that's right. Just like today, Scotty. It's a lucky dip. I just got some JJs. One was dead short, I think, but because I order, you know, 100 valves at once and don't have time to test them all, I put them in the cupboard, and fucked if I know what invoice they're on or even who I bought them from, because I've got like 4 different suppliers. So how do you do a return? And there's no serial number on the valve, so you can't prove it. So instead of forcibly intimidating a poor person on the end of the phone to give me another set of valves for free, like some of the other YouTube channels have, I just copped it and put them up, and I'm going to hang them on my Christmas tree next year because they look pretty. I changed to modelling. I love the selections and convenience. Years of lugging around tube amps, cabs, etc. Not for me anymore. Yeah, I'm getting that a bit from some of my customers, but when I explain to them that their 12-year-old Helix or whatever isn't going to be practical to repair, then they do get a little bit upset, and I have to say, look, it's not a job that I want to look at, sorry. SMD, get out the engraving microscopes and surgical. I mean, I've done it, Seth. Like when I've had to get something running, I've been there and done that. It's just sometimes the success rate isn't 100% like it is with other amps. I mean, if a repair like that takes an excessively long time, I often don't just charge, you know, by the hour, because there's a lot of. See, the thing is, a lot of these repairs, even if you got the documentation, they require some degree of reverse engineering before you can attack the problem. And who do you charge for that? It's not your fault that they bought that amp, and it's not their fault that it blew up. And it's not really the manufacturer's fault that they don't build it anymore, because they've got to keep their models fresh and exciting and blah blah blah. So it's really no one's fault, but at the end of the day, the tech ends up the one eating the time. And I'd rather just not take the job. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Yeah, it's the labour that kills it. It does. And sitting there staring at a board, figuring out what the fuck it is, even with the schematics and seeing what traces go where, that is labour. People think staring at something isn't labour, but it kind of is. Alrighty then. Let's get a little container happening. So I think from my discussion with this customer, he plugged something accidentally. He had a bunch of cables floating around, and I think he said he plugged the speaker outlet of another amp into the input jack of this amp. So I reckon we've got some shorted limiting diodes in the front end, or possibly a failed op amp, because these things are basically drive pedals in an amplifier. They're not really they're not an all valve topology. They're more like a stomp box with a valve output stage. Sorry to burst your bubble, everyone. More hate directed at me for telling the truth. So you can see there right away, with all the channels and features this thing has, it only has 2 preamp valves. So, what are they? Probably not a phase inverter. Probably a cathode follower, at least one of them. We could look up the schematic if we weren't lazy, but generally these things have got solid state phase inverters, FET based phase inverters. And I dare say with the HT, this would be no exception. And I can already see them in there, so yes, this has got FET phase inverters. See the little TA220 packages down inside there? That's the phase inverter. Is this going to sit any half decent way? Not really. Get my big ass screwdriver, because they're number 3 Phillips. Jesus, it's 8:30 already. Suppose that happens when you start half an hour late. When I receive goods from a supplier, I need to mark the products with purchase order number. That's a good idea, Brendan. I should do that. I accept the downsides of Helix before buying. I look at it like a computer more than an amp rig. Yeah, well, that's how you got to look at it, Max. Problem is, people get attached to their equipment even when it's a digital modeling rig. And they want it to last forever. There's some romantic notion that electronic goods should last forever. If they're built that way, as works of art, yeah, for sure. that still need maintenance, but these aren't works of art. These are consumer goods. You don't expect your dishwasher to last you 50 years. So don't expect your Helix to last you 50 years. But it sounds like you got the right philosophy there, Max. Max Power. What a name. Okay, why am I smelling smoke? That's always a worry. Oh, because the block's filled with smoke. Okay. Yeah. There's no wind today, so what often... Shut up, door. What often happens down here is everyone starts their fire in the cold morning, and because there's no wind here, all the smoke just sits in the valley. So I smelled smoke, thought it was something I'd blown up, but no, it's just outside smoke. That is why licensed Martin guitar repair loops used when taking warranty work. Yeah, well, there's a fucking story behind that too. I'll get so much hate if I bring that out. Martin only pays a fixed amount for each type of repair. Work that pays more always takes precedence. Warranties. Yes, I think I know what you mean there. So Martins are coming out with the neck angle wrong. So from the factory, you need a neck reset, and I charge about $1,200 for that because it's fucking painful. And there's almost always finished touch-ups and fret work and everything afterwards if people want it to play perfectly. You're paying $6,000 for a Martin. Should be fucking good. They're not. They're shit. They're coming out of the factory with like 4mm action at the 12th fret. Who picks one up and goes, oh, that's the guitar for me? It plays like a bag of ass. So don't buy them, man. Like, fuck. But there's this brand loyalty. And I'm trying to understand the psychology behind it because I want to take advantage of it. But like a customer came in the other day he didn't actually have his Martin, but he bought a Martin, sight unseen, online from another state. Paid like $6,000, $7,000 for it. Got it shipped here. Straight away, he's got problems. Action's too high. I said, well, take it back, send it back. He said, oh, I don't want to because, you know, it's interstate, and they were the only ones able to get one. All the others were on back order for like 12 months. So there's this scarcity mindset. That's the first aspect. Scarcity mindset means people will take less than ideal products for a lot of money. Just look at all the audiophile bullshit and the valves as well. Like, if you've got a scarcity mindset, straight away, if you can cultivate a scarcity mindset in your market, you can make a lot of money off them without giving them much in return. So that's the first aspect. The second one was brand loyalty. It shouldn't be wrong because it's Martin, so it must be something that I'm not doing properly. So people will go, oh, it's just how they are. So they'll accept shitty performance on a very expensive thing because that's just how they are, and you just have to get used to it. That's bullshit. If you've got 4mm action, it's unplayable. Send it back. Stick it up their ass, ask for your money back, right? So straight away, on the bad guy, because I'm giving him the news that, well, this, not just this guy, but everyone, I'm giving them the news that their $6,000 guitar is unplayable and requires $1,200 worth of work to get playable. And then they're like, yeah, you can't be right. You can't be right. That can't be right. You don't know what you're talking about. It's Martin. It's Martin. It's CF Martin. They wouldn't do that. Well, yes, they would, and they have. You gave them the money. They're laughing, and now they're denying there's a problem. So don't support these companies, man. Like, God, how many times do I have to say it? But people will keep buying them because they're Martin, and everyone wants a Martin, and they sound fantastic. And yes, they do sound fantastic, but part of that reason is that the strings are in the stratosphere, so they're never going to touch the frets, no matter how heavy you play them. So they don't buzz, yeah, sure. But, yeah, just... And I get attacked relentlessly for telling people this stuff. Martins have been that way for 100 years. Well, yeah, stop buying them then, because they're shit. Epiphones are junk, just like their bigger brother Gibson. That's why we don't stock them. No Fender, no Gibson. Only music shop my size that doesn't do them. Yeah, I don't do Gibson. The finishes suck, the frets suck, the binding nibs suck. I went to a shop not too long ago and saw two SGs, same model, same finish, exactly the same, on the wall. And I noticed the action was about the same on both of them. They look pretty playable, but the bridge posts were almost at the end of their travel on one of them, and they were way down on the other one. So the bridge was like 3/4 of an inch up in the air on one of them, and it was like 1/8 of an inch above the body on the other one. But the action was about the same. So that means two SGs, exact same model, neck angle, like probably 1 degree different. That is unacceptable for what you're paying. But it's a Gibson. Gibsons are just like that. You just got to get used to it because it's a Gibson and everyone wants a Gibson. It's an abusive relationship between these companies and their customer base. That's what it is. It's gaslighting, and it's them abusing their customers. What's Scotty talking about? I've got to spend $200. Hang on. I'll go back. I bought an $800 Epiphone, and the fretwork looks nice, but it wasn't leveled correctly and pings and buzzes up the 12th fret. And that's what 5/64ths on the low ends. Oh God, you're speaking in metric and I mean imperial fraction. If you're gonna buy guitars, guys, buy yourself one of these. You can get them from StewMac. You can get generic ones online. Fret rocker. Don't buy an instrument you haven't looked at up close, because you're gonna get screwed every time. Especially when there's high action, because they're doing that on purpose to hide all the uneven frets. If you've got one of these, you can go along on the frets. Oh, look, that fret's high, that fret's high, that fret's high, that fret's high. Irrefutably in front of their face, they can't argue that there's no high frets when you've got one of these. So that's when you say, you're either going to knock $500 off the price because I need to set up service and fret hone, or I'm just not going to buy the instrument. And then you walk out. Go get something that actually is good. You can get these for like $10, man. Like probably $3 on eBay, Amazon, whatever. Don't buy Amazon. But they will save you money, but more importantly, they will stick it up the arse of all the scammers that are trying to sell you shit. So get one of them. If you're going to own one tool, get that one. Pick up 25 quality Japanese guitars from the same maker. They are 100% consistent. Yeah, every damn Gibson is different. Yes, that's why I sell FGN, but no one wants them because they're not Fender or Gibson. The only thing that gives me a little bit of faith in humanity is the fact I'm seeing the prices of messes, the actual sale price of Mesa boogies, dropping quite dramatically on the second-hand market. People think we just love to hate these things because we've got some vendetta against them, like they killed our puppy when we were growing up or something. It's not that. We're doing it on your behalf as the customers that we want to see get value for money, believe it or not. Anyway, Martin's quality control is non-existent. Yeah, I agree, John. Good to see you too, by the way, John. Yeah, Wes, how you going, Wes? Yeah, it's rant city today. I think I've had a very bad week, so I just don't have any tolerance for bullshit this week. Alright, so there's no evidence of anything blowing out, but let's have a close look at this thing, eh? So, when you buy a St. James, for whoever was asking, I forget who it was, this is essentially what you get. You get a Black Star HT board. I think it's the HT40, is it, in that one? And not that there's anything wrong with surface mount, but just know that, yeah, it looks all old-timey and boutiquey from the front, but this is what you're paying for. You get no 603 surface mount components. Very fine traces. You get digital reverb. I think that's got reverb, that one. Getting black solder mask, which makes it hard to trace anything. However, schematics are available for these rather readily. You're getting a solid state phase inverter. Just trying to figure out where I am, yeah. So that's those two FETs there. TR29 and 30, that's a phase inverter there. That's their, well, like their plate loads, their drain loads. You've got adjustable bias and balance, which is nice. You've got a heatsink over here, which has got just regulators on it for low voltage supplies. That's good. That's a bit of an overkill, but I do like that. I think they're running DC heaters on this, maybe even regulated. We'll pull up the schematic in a second and have a look and violate some more copyright laws. But essentially, look at all these op amps. There's hundreds of them. Not hundreds, but what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, just in the front end. You got two valves here, sort of like vanity valves, probably just cathode followers, but we'll have a look at that in a second. There's the plate loads across there. You've got digital reverb over here, as well as what am I trying to say? Foot switching logic, and probably, yeah, USB. So you've got a, what is it, Dream SAM5504, so that's probably the USB controller. Let's look up the parts, let's look up the chips. Who's making quality acoustics these days anyway, in your opinion, Brad? Cort. Everything from Cort. I get even the really cheap Corts are about as good as you're going to get for the money. Washburns, we don't get that many over here, and the ones we do are the very affordable plywood ones. Oh, Brad, is it the St. James with the switch mode power supply? No, but see, Alex thought this was the St. James because they look identical, don't they? Good to see you, Alex. Or hear you. Sorry you're having a bad week, Brad. Take some time for self-care and don't let things overwhelm you. Yeah, it's not work. Where's it's other shit, but anyway. So let's pull up schematic and have a look at this thing in detail. Figure out what everything's doing. Have I got one? HT20R Mark II main PCB. Let's have a look. Hope I'm not sharing my screen here. You can see all my pornos. Got to open in 15 minutes. That's going to be fun today. Black Star. Black Heart? No. Is that someone here already? I thought I heard people speaking out the front. It's just the crows going, ah! God. HT20. HT Studio. Shit, maybe I don't have it. I think my folders are a bit screwed up. Oh shit, maybe I don't have it. Artisan, got the Artisan. HT Studio 20. Ugh. Let's see how similar this is. Right, let's have a look at the known components, see if we've got the same designator. The Black Star got this habit of, no, they're completely different. Yay. they got this habit of reusing the same circuits over and over again and different models, just like copy pasting them into the new shit, which is fine, like whatever. But my point is that you can sometimes use other schematics to understand the one that you're working on, because they'll just, for example, they'll just change the output stage, or like the channel switching or something like that. So the 40 and the 20 club and studio are about the same. No schematic for this one. Let's just have a look on the World Wide Webs. I just want to show you guys. I don't really need it to work on it. Schematic. A whole bunch of scamming sites trying to get you to click on the link, which is part of the course when you're looking for schematics. Let's just go HT20. Ugh. Mosquito. User manual. Who uses that? Yeah, I can't find one. I'm going to have to ask my bros. Anyway, I'll do that later. Time to make a journey to the shop. Catch you later. See you 6. Early to mid 90s Ibanez are some of the most playable guitars available then. They're investments now. Yeah, it's crazy how that happens, eh? They look the part but play like 60. I'm working backwards, hang on. ESP Navigator was great LP copy. I remember going to shops in like 89 and all the guitars straight from the factory played amazing. Yeah, not anymore. Yeah, people are just ordering directly from these distributors and manufacturers, and they're just coming straight from a shipping container from wherever they were built. You know, you got to set it up yourself, so you've pretty much got to book in a service on a new guitar and factor that into the cost these days, unfortunately. And luckily, like if you take it to a proper tech, they'll let you know if there's anything that needs more attention, like anything that you should be looking for a return for. So do that as soon as you buy a guitar, so you're still within your warranty period. Blackstar have a tight something on all their schematics. Yeah, not all of them. I've got quite a few, but not this one. Yeah, it makes me wonder why. Why are they really tight with their schematics? Is it because they don't want the truth to come out that it's not really a valve amp? Alrighty, so anyway, we've got input, we've got an input choke, L1. It's everything that's 1 is generally the start of the circuit, because that's the part where they started. When you design a schematic, there's a few different options you can do for annotation. So that means naming the components, like L this, R this, C that, C23, R45, blah blah blah. You can start from top left and work its way down, and it sort of goes down and just names it starting at the lowest number and works its way up. Or you can go off when the component was placed. So like whatever part of the circuit you started modeling first, it'll start with the lowest numbers there. In this case, it was probably top left, because that's where the input area of the schematic is, because like the English language, starts top left, works its way to the right, and then works its way down. So that's probably the way they've done it. Freudian slip scheme. Did I say scheme? Anyway, so yeah, here's your input. There is some switching here, which is, this is a cliff jack, which has got a contact on the other side of that, so it knows when the jack's plugged in. Normally that changes the output stage into cutoff. It'll feed it like minus, 80, 90 volts or something ridiculous to the grids in order to put them in a complete cutoff until you've plugged something in, so there's no noise when it's just sitting there. The problem with that is sometimes they exceed the coupling cap from the phase inverter's rating, because you got whatever voltage on the plates and you got minus almost 100 volts on the grids. But down here I think we've got a more serious issue than that we're not getting any signal in at all. But on most of these amps there are some diodes which look like transistors. There's one there. I don't know if you can see that. It says D1, but it looks like a surface mount transistor. They're limiting diodes. There's 2 diodes in one package, and what you'll have is it'll have the signal line on the central point, and it'll have a diode going to the plus and minus rails, so the input signal can't exceed the positive or negative rails on the input. That's the idea anyway, so static discharges, that kind of thing, get arrested by that diode and they don't get fed to the next stage, shorting it out. So let's see if that's short. That wouldn't explain our hum. No, it's not. You can see 1 voltage drop each on each wing of that diode, so that diode's fine. So the input limiting diode is okay. So you got your forward voltage of about 0.6 volts there. Just check that inductor. Its job is to filter out RF coming from the input. You can get my little probes down in there. $100K. Am I testing it correctly? I think we might have a blown inductor. Well, that would make sense, because this guy apparently plugged it into a speaker from another amplifier. So I think we've got a blown inductor on the input, which is that tiny little bastard down there, which you probably, I can't zoom in far enough. Go too far and it'll go out of focus. Yep, there it goes. Alright, we know where we're at. So this little inductor down here is open circuit. So I dare say that's our problem. What I might do, because its only job is to short out RF, I might short it out and see if we can get some signal. RF be damned. Now that's a 4-conductor device. So that's on the ground and the signal. So that'll be why we're not getting any signal, and it's humming because it's lost the ground and it's lost the signal line. Try finding a schematic for an Olympus product. What a bunch of cobbled together trash. They would buy speaker protection modules made for really cheap. Home entertainment systems. Alright, so there's 4 conductors on this choke. Let's do a little sketch. Where's my post-it-y thing? Banisters. Mollymook, where we spent our mini honeymoon. We only had 2 days for. So you got your input, you got your jack, you got really shitty drawing, and a pen that's running out of ink. So you got your ground coming in, you got your choke coming in, and then that goes to the input and then that goes to, well, it doesn't go to ground, but it goes to the signal ground. Now there's a ground lift network on this. That's the iron core, real good, eh? So there's a ground lift network that gives the audio ground about 100 ohms to actual ground, and that's common to all the Black Stars. So imagine that's about 100 ohms from ground, above ground, the chassis, and then that goes to your first stage on the input. So on the input of this is also that diode that we checked. I had to think about that. So that's your, well, it's actually, it doesn't go to ground, it goes to -15, and that goes to +15. So that limits the input signal to 15 volts peak to peak, right? That's the two diodes in that transistor that we checked, and this is the choke that we checked. When he's fed speaker signal in here, the voltage has massively exceeded ±15 volts, and in the process of trying to pull it to those rails, excess current has been expected of, well, both of these, and they've gone open circuit. So now on this side, we'll test some ridiculous resistance to the input here, and on this side we'll test some ridiculous resistance to ground. But on the other side here, we'll measure whatever it would be on the input of that, so whatever in the input stage there is, and then on that we'd measure probably 100 ohms to ground on the pins of that choke. So let's measure that. Try and put it somewhere where you can read that as well as a meter. Right, so on the output, which logically would be the furthest away from the input jack, we'll just measure this pin here, we don't know what it is. 99 ohms, so that's your ground on the output of the choke. And then 100k. And then on the other side, which should be ground as well, 100k. And I can't really reach the other one. I'll just get a smaller lead, hang on. Ah, come here, you bastard. Right, with this tiny little needle thing, I should be able to get to the other, get to the other terminal of that choke. We'll just measure that to ground as well. Probably be about the same as the other one, over 100k. About 102k. Oh, of course it will be, because that jack's shorted because there's nothing plugged into it, so we'll just put something in there for a sec. 5 meg. So that'll be conducting through whatever carbon is left from that circuit burning open. And now the other one's open circuit. Since we put the jack in it, it's broken the ground connection. So we've got an open choke. Let's see if we can get in there without removing this circuit board. This is going to be a bit fiddly, microsurgery type stuff. But you know, if we squint just right, we might be able to get it done. Yeah, that's very tight. I wonder if I can put some chip removal solder on that and just remove that choke. Let's try that first, because I don't really want to remove that board if we can avoid it. Yeah, she's open. She's open, Alex. More open than a very open thing. Where's my flux? There it is. Put on 1 metric pawl of flux. Anyone that watches Lewis Rossman will get that joke. One metric pawl. Okay, it's getting everywhere, that's not good. I just dislodged the capacitor, that's not good either. Let's put that cap over there and put it back in a minute. Oh, I've got a lifted choke. Alright, choke's out. Choked out. I just got to clean up this chip removal solder from elsewhere because it's not something you want to leave there. I've got to remove those caps that have been contaminated by that solder now. Remember where they went because we don't have a schematic, so we can't measure them and reinsert them with a high degree of confidence. Let's get some solder braid, one moment. So imagine doing this, and I've received 4 or 5 phone calls in the process. Can you imagine how much that would slow you down? Alright, so there's our little choke, and I think I can actually see the burn marks on that. See, she's had a tough life. Most issues on Series 1 Black Stars are usually the TL072 ICs. Really? Biggest issue on these ones, I'll show you in a minute, but is board conductivity between the pins on the FETs of the PI. So, when you're working surface mount, right, do you see that capacitor? That one? The one that the camera can't focus on because it's got to zoom in too far. That's a capacitor there. It's very easy for these things to disappear. So we've got to replace them, put them back in their positions that they were, because there's no markings on the caps, so you can't tell at a glance what value they are. Don't even try. We're trying to work under this chassis lip as well, which makes it fun. Bit of solder. Just get one pad soldered. Oh, boom. Perfectly aligned. Alright, the cap's back in place. Second cap. Actually, I'll run those. Oh, there's our Kynar wire we were talking about before. We'll just short out that choke for now. Might get the actual choke or just deal with the RF. Which is probably negligible anyway. They didn't have chokes on, you know, all the other amps that we revere. Riviera. Alright, we've got one link in. It's very micro surgery. It's hard to really even show you on the camera. Can't even get in there with nippers. I'm going to have to get my Stanley knife out. Not Stanley, bloody hobby knife, whatever you want to call it. Sharpie. No, not Sharpie. X-Acto. I'm trying to remember the American names for everything. Alright. second one. Just bring that temp down a little bit, since we're working on tiny, tiny things. You gotta be very quick, because you just touch these components or these bits of wire and they move, because they've got no thermal mass at all. You heat one end of them, the other end's hot enough to desolder itself. Oh fuck, someone's here already. Oh, it's just Michelle bringing me coffee. Hey woman.
The door still says closed.
Yeah, good. I'm busy. It's only... It's what?
But the door's open.
It's unlocked, yeah.
But the sign says closed.
Yeah, it's only 9:03.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick. I've been very ranty today. I don't feel very good about the stream.
Did you not see my comment? I've been online.
You have?
I actually listened to you today.
Did you? I didn't even see you.
Oh.
I'm a busy man, mate. Thanks for the coffee, woman.
You're welcome.
Have a good day. Want to go for lunch?
I'll get food today, but also after 2.
Yeah, we'll go for 2 o'clock. We'll go for the opposite of brunch. Do you want to go to Japanese for lunch?
Go do you?
I'll get you duck pancake. Yeah? Alright, duck pancakes for lunch. Since I barely see you this weekend. Alright, let's try that again. Need a bit of flux, I think. And I'm going to drop the temp even more. So we've got less of a chance. We'll go down to like 280. 280. Hats off to you. You know how I feel about SMD. Well, you know, I got inspired by Lewis Rossman and Paul Daniels, a different Paul. He's an Aussie. He does live streams too. And they are not deterred by the tiniest of components. So I figure if those guys can do it, I can too. They were the inspiration for me to not turn away surface mount equipment. Of course, having a steady hand is difficult when you've had no breakfast. You've been up since 5 AM. Alright, now we can put that other cap back. I'll just get rid of that lead, not lead free, the chip removal, solder on it with some flux first. Just on the mat. I'm not going to put the open sign up because this is too intensive to deal with customers at the same time. Alright, that cap's back in place. Almost looks like factory, mate. Oh, the trucks with the compression braking, man. Every 5 minutes. Just turn it off, you dickheads. Alright, C9 on the explosive. Back in place. Alright. Let's just check continuity now. Continuity. It's the Aussie version of continuity. It's far enough into the stream, no one will ever hear that. Hey, back to 100 ohms. Right, let's see if we've got signal. clean up all my crap. Make sure I don't sweep any capacitors onto the floor that I missed, because they will not get found again. They are like a speck of sand. Let's try this little, oh shit, let's try this little shooter again. Let's put her on blocks, eh? It's not very well balanced, the trannies are towards the back. Might call it after this one, because I don't know, do you guys want to watch me do a refret? I'll just talk shit with you like usual, but there tends to be a focus on electronics here because people find it more interesting because they don't understand it. Whereas everyone understands you put a thread in, it's a slot, you shove it in and clamp it, you know, it's a bit boring. I like doing the electronic stuff. I like doing the surface mount stuff too because it makes people less afraid of it, and you shouldn't be afraid of surface mount. Otherwise you won't be able to fix fuck all in the next couple of years because that's all it's going to be. Champions. Where'd my power lead go? Get another one. I'll give this the test speaker. You know, you remember before, as soon as we plug in the input, you get a massive hum. Controllable by the master volume. Set everything midway except for the master again like we did before. We should be able to tell straight away. When we plug in and bring the master up, we had a massive hum and no signal. Do we have that now? Nope, we've got signal, champions. Turn that reverb down because it sounds horrible. Oh, I'm washing out the mic, sorry. It's the start of that Barnsey song, isn't it? Can't remember the words. So there we go, legends. Another one bites the dust. Well, it doesn't bite the dust, as it were. Another Black Star lives to fight another day. You know, if we went, oh, I don't touch that surface mount shit, and try to maintain some kind of superiority above the technology, that customer would have had to go somewhere else, and they probably would have gone somewhere else where they would have hacked it up. So it's a good result. Be happy with it, damn it. Just looking at where we work because it wasn't very clear in the video because of that lip. Oh, look at that. Oh, too far. You always want that just last bit of zoom and then we go too far and it goes out of focus. Let's bring the exposure up. Let's expose ourselves. So down there, I had to dislodge that cap, and that cap in order to remove that choke and replace it with two link wires there and there. It still looks a bit shitty because it's got flux left over. Now it's slightly more susceptible to RF, but it works, and it's no more susceptible to RF than any other fucking amplifier ever built that doesn't have an input choke. And I'll show you the input choke. That was this thing. See that little freckle on my hand there? Yeah, that was it. So it's a common mode choke. So, yeah, that tiny little component was fucking up the whole amp because it was in the front end. So happy days. I'll continue. I'll do a service on this because you did ask for a check over and service as well. So we measure everything and you know, clean anything that needs cleaning, that kind of thing. So I think I might leave it there, legends, because it's quarter past 9 and technically my shop's supposed to be open now. So I better fuck off and try and be a shop owner. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about all the whinging. I've been in a bad headspace. A friend of mine who used to be very close passed away on Tuesday. And yeah, it's a long story, but it's not a happy one. So it hasn't been a happy week. So anyway, I hope you've stuck with me long enough to get to the end of why I'm such a grumpy prick this week.